Story 1, Rejecting Cookies. No one should have to spend 10 minutes turning each individual cookie off. All websites should have a reject all button, and paying to reject cookies should be banned. Edit. Website cookies. Story 2, Printers. Give me a printer with a single power button and nothing else. I don't need a touch screen or 10 different buttons. Just print the document when I click print. Story 3, Buying a house. The lawyer fees, the hidden buying costs, the misinformation. A lot of this stuff exists because where people are spending money, there is plenty to be made. Story 4, Getting a better deal on your television and internet. Threaten to cancel your services. Escalate to a customer retention manager. Schedule a cancellation date. Wait for them to call you back with a better offer, just to keep your bill down or the same as it has been for the past year. Forget Canadian telecommunications companies. Story 5, Buying a car. You should be able to find a car you like online, get transparent financing online, and walk in and out of the dealership in less than 30 minutes. When I bought my car 5 years ago, I had to meet with my credit union to get financing for 1 hour. I called ahead of time and told the dealership to have the car ready so I could look at it. After I took it on a test drive, I told them I was ready to negotiate. After we agreed on a price, they started negotiating financing, and I had to repeatedly tell them I already had a cashier's check. Once I got into the business manager's office, he was haggling with me on offering a lower monthly payment and trying to sell me an extended warranty. I had to tell him, if you try to sell me one more thing besides this car, I'm leaving. I was at the dealership for over 2 hours when I had already picked a car before I got there and was ready to buy after a 15-minute test drive. Absolutely ridiculous waste of time. Story 6. Those third-party software programs that large companies use to run their employee performance programs are often complicated. I have been exposed to many of them over the last few decades, and they are always overly complex. They take simple concepts and break them into dozens of meaningless steps and subroutines. I am convinced the main goal of the companies selling these systems is to keep them as large and complex as possible to give their clients the impression of their necessity. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Story 7. Why do you need to make a new account for every different company? Isn't that the point of having a unified job posting service like how Indeed works? Story 8. Microwaves. I don't want 16 buttons and a clock. Growing up, we had a simple, unattractive microwave. It had one dial. You turn it on and it counts down the time and then dings. I loved that microwave. Story 9. Transportation Security Administration. Why do they sometimes give me the 9th degree, and other times I just place my bag in a tray and walk through a metal detector quickly? I travel through a few airports regularly, and I can never be sure what will happen. Story 10. CPU naming schemes are all big offenders. Snapdragon with their mobile budget chips, Apple with their skip generations AMD Ryzen Mobile, and the new awful Intel naming scheme. I'm sure Samsung, Huawei, and MediaTek have some skeletons in their closets that I can't recall. Story 11. Filing taxes in the United States. The Internal Revenue Service has everything already calculated. They know exactly how much you owe, but they make you go through a whole complicated process of filling it out yourself so they can catch you if you do it wrong. Story 12. Absolutely everything related to bikes. I like a good cycle, but why, oh why, is nothing ever standardized? Why does no accessory fit even though I spent hours checking I've got the exact model that's meant to fit my bike? Story 13. Tax forms. Government knows how much I make. They take chunks of it all year. They should be telling me how much I owe, since they are brazen enough to tell me when I'm wrong. Story 14. SiriusXM subscriptions. Starting, stopping, changing, whatever. They say you can do everything on their website, but you almost always have to call eventually. Story 15. Taxes. Government, you owe us money. Me, oh okay, how much? Government, you have to figure that out. Me, oh, so I can pay whatever I think is fair? Government, nope, we know exactly how much, but we're not telling. Me, how's this? Government, nope, sorry, you're going to jail, and you still owe us. Story 16. Getting a doctor's appointment. Call the doctor. They don't have voicemail or queues initially, and it's first come, first served, so everyone calls at exactly 8 a.m., and no one gets through. Call. The line disconnects. Call again. Do this 89 more times. I counted. It's now 9:15 a.m. For you are now in the queue. Listen to the same 3 bars of a song to be interrupted by a message. You are nth in the queue. Please hold. A secretary has picked up. It's now nearly 10 a.m. 7. Describe what's wrong in detail. If she doesn't like the sound of your voice, or if she decides that's not a real issue, or maybe you don't want to describe a personal matter with someone whose qualification to do so is the ability to answer a phone. Be given a time the doctor will call. Wait. 10. The doctor has now called and listened to you describe the issue again. They either decide it's nothing and recommend rest or decide it's something, and now you have to get an appointment. This will be at any time within the next 3 weeks, and God help you if it's not convenient because this is non-negotiable. 11. Wait 3 weeks and either get better or die. Story 17. Submit this form to be eligible to submit that form to prove that you are alive, something like that. Story 18. Any software at the place you work probably. Honestly, it's probably not even bad. Everything just takes forever to load, and you need to click through too many screens to do basic things. Story 19. If you need 17 layers of plastic around a small toy just to keep a child from grabbing it and choking on it, then you're just not a good parent. I could understand child-proofing sharp things, but this is asinine. Story 20. Renting a car. Yes, if you go to your preferred company, you may get a faster rental, but if you get stranded someplace and walk up to a counter, it's ridiculous. Story 21. Benefit systems are needlessly complicated. You need teams to manage the application process, assess eligibility, combat fraud, and conduct outreach to ensure those who need the benefit know how to claim it. It was calculated that universal basic income would only be a 25% increase compared to current benefits, but would almost entirely eradicate child and elderly poverty and benefit the bottom 54% of household incomes. But it's even more ridiculous when you consider the knock-on effects. For example, how much this would benefit the National Health Service means it's only an estimated 5% increase in overall spending. However, it could actually result in a net saving due to effects on crime, policing, and insurance costs. Story 22. Amazon Web Services. If you know what you want to do, navigating Amazon's ridiculous product naming and unnecessary management tools is super painful. I believe it is intentional so that when you quit and move somewhere else, you can't figure out why you are still being billed for something. Moved to DigitalOcean. Story 23. Somebody already posted unsubscribing to a service, but I'm going to be more specific. Unsubscribing to Sirius in your car. They treat you like a traitor and persona non grata, and I'm just like, bro, I just got a different car. Story 24. Local government or utility approvals. Try a multi-step approval requiring an arborist report for pruning a tree on your own private land. My house required building permits and planning, which took 6 months for someone to sign a sheet of paper. The plans were approved and compliant as per private certifier's report, which cost thousands of dollars, as councils no longer check drawings. I built the entire house in 4 months with a split-level, concrete slab on ground, 25,000 bricks, intricate roof, and ultra-high raked ceilings. Want to move a lamp post because it was installed incorrectly by the power utility? It's an 18 to 24-month process. To connect a power dome to the existing network takes 12 to 18 months, for about 1 to 2 hours of work. I spent 4 years getting a shopping center approved to be built on a lot zoned for a local shopping center, on a street specifically zoned for commercial premises. I'm talking hundreds of shops, restaurants, and bars in a strip. There were 0 code variations and no reasons for it to not be allowed. I had to take the council to court over it and fight them. It was a 5-minute decision because there was no reason not to approve it, at a cost of a few $100,000. The council spent millions fighting me. That's millions of dollars of you, the rate and taxpayers' money, to fight me, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost, which will need to be passed on to you, the customer who will want to patronize here, just because the council were unreasonable. Meanwhile, they left a huge patch of dirt on the trendiest street in the city for years. Story 25. Applying for any job involves endless hoops, forms, psychological tests sold to the company by a misleading consultant, interviews, and more forms. None of these things were necessary in years past. Has any process caught imposters or psychological threats when a background check would have sufficed? Licensure applications internationally are a joke. Instead of being acceptable with another country's process, every country needs its own, staffed by people who create barriers to prevent approval. Jumping through hoops does not approximate quality. The application to work as a doctor in Ireland is the thickness of a phone book. Story 26. Suing a company. I won in small claims court, but because they are in a different province, I need to jump through so many hoops to have anyone do anything. It's nearly costing me the same amount I'd be getting back if they are ever forced to pay. Story 27. Download this 300 megabytes package that includes drivers, software, the entire Sears catalog, a direct link to buy ink, Wi-Fi proprietary setup software, and only after these are installed can you see the printer. Now run another software to allow Windows to communicate with it. While my phone just says, "We found a printer nearby ready to use." Story 28. Pizza menus. If they need to have dynamic prices because of busy and slack periods, then a simple percentage system would suffice, for example, 20% off before 5 p.m. The labyrinth that is a pizza menu simply makes me choose other takeaways. Story 29. Getting Microsoft products to use the correct profile in Edge. No, Edge, I don't want to use that email address to access OneDrive. I want this one. Yes, I know I clicked the right one. Why are you using the other one? Microsoft, it has been close to 15 years of this. Fix your system. Story 30. Navigating the United States health insurance copay, deductible, in-network, out-of-network, medically necessary, exploratory, diagnostic, and preventative nonsense. In my opinion, it is all meant to be so convoluted to extract more money from customers and also meant to be difficult to navigate just to discourage you from trying to use the benefits you pay for. Story 31. The only reason it is complicated is so rich people can find reasons not to pay, and the government can find lots of reasons for poor people to pay. Story 32. Monthly charitable donations. I have been donating monthly to a charity for a while, and when I got a promotion at work, I wanted to increase my donation. There was no way to edit the donation amount on their website, despite the fact that it is ridiculously easy to sign up to donate on the site. When I called, I was met with automated menus. Forget that. Story 33. Filing a tax return. You have to fill out a form with all your income and tax issues on it, but you better not cheat. Why? Because the government has a duplicate of all your forms and knows how much you owe them. Well, if that's the case, why don't they send us a filled-in form, and we just sign off that we agree or dispute it? Fill out this form, but do it correctly because we have all the same information and we'll know, but we're going to make you do it anyway because forget you. Several times there have been attempts to get the Internal Revenue Service to just do it for us, and of course lobbyists convince politicians not to pass it. So who hired the lobbyists? H&R Block and Intuit, makers of TurboTax. Story 34. Calling in to make payments. You do not need all this verification stuff, because I can assure you, nobody is hacking into my finances and paying my bills. Story 35. People who make a big deal out of things that just do not need to be a big deal. Just chill. Why make life more unpleasant than it needs to be? Story 36. The plots of most video games made in Japan and many anime are so complicated and quite often nonsensical and full of holes that most plot summaries read like the notebook of a schizophrenic. Story 37. Currently sitting in the Department of Motor Vehicles for the third time today because every person I've spoken to gives me different information and a new pile of forms to fill out where I have to go get signatures from somewhere that's not the Department of Motor Vehicles. Currently starting my 4th hour in this hell. Story 38. If you're into recording studio work, it's going to be about some of the audio workstations. Some are user-friendly, such as Audacity, but others are, by mutual agreement, unnecessarily complicated. Story 39. The best one is my dentist office. There's one lady sitting at the desk answering the phone, but there are 4 options when you call. So, basically, it doesn't matter which option you select. She still has to answer the phone. Story 40. Divisive politics. Waste of time, money, resources, and lives. I'm not sure what needs to happen, Look how easy it was to bribe Clarence Thomas with a luxury recreational vehicle and expensive trips. Or simple blackmail to get Republican senators to comply and back Trump. You wouldn't get a movie funded if you wrote a script about these events. It's so unbelievable. Story 41. Paying taxes in the United States. In Japan, I just get a bill, go to the convenience store, and pay it. Of course, the federal and state governments know how much I owe in the United States. Otherwise, what's the incentive to pay the right amount?